Hello, and welcome to the Easy Agile podcast. Each episode, we talk with some of the most interesting people in tech, in Agile, and in leading businesses around the world, sharing fresh perspectives and learning from the wealth of knowledge each guest has to share. We talk all things from building authentic workplace cultures, implementing Agile methodology, our new world of work, and so much more. We have some amazing guests lined up this season, and we're really excited to be sharing these conversations with you all. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review in your favourite podcasting app. Let's jump into the latest episode.
Hello and welcome back to the Easy Agile podcast. I'm Chloe, Marketing Coordinator at Easy Agile, and I'll be your host for today's episode. Before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast today, the people of the Dharawal speaking country. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that same respect to all Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islanders, and First Nations people joining us today. Today we have a very exciting episode for you. We will be speaking to Renee Craven. Renee is an Agile coach, Agile trainer, Scrum Master coach, base Pilates instructor, and runs her own Pilates studio. Renee is also a chapter local leader at Women in Agile Brisbane and is the host of the podcast The Leaders Playlist alongside David Clifford. Renee's passion in life is to help people to be a better version of themselves by raising their awareness of areas they wish or need to improve in, and to support them in their learning and growth through these areas. According to Renee, coaching is not about telling people what to do. It is about questions to allow them to dig deeper, uncovering realizations and their desire for change. Welcome to the podcast, Renee. Thank you so much for coming today. Really appreciate it and very excited to unpack your story, your journey, and all the success you have achieved, which is amazing. How are you today anyways?
I'm good, thank you, Chloe. It's Friday, so I'm always a bit wrecked on a Friday, looking forward to, sleeping in on the weekends and things like that.
Yeah.
So, Friday I'm always a little bit dreary, but other than that, I'm fine.
Well, that's good. Yeah, Friday afternoon definitely can always do that too. I'm very pumped for a sleep in as well. I think let's just get straight into it. So somewhere that I wanted to start was I just want to unpack you as a person, Renee, and kind of your story, who is Renee, and the journey you've taken to become so successful today. So if you wanted to provide a little bit of background about yourself. Yeah.
How far back do I go? So I did IT at uni, information technology at uni. So I started my career out as a graduate developer, software developer, pretty crap one at that. And
surely not. I don't agree with that. I can't see it.
I knew enough to get by, but it was definitely not going to be something that I was going to do for the rest of my life. But, back then I was 20 and kind of just was doing things that you were supposed to do when you grow up. You're supposed to go to school and you're supposed to do well in grade 12 and go to uni and get a degree and then get a job. And
definitely.
So, I ticked all those boxes and found myself with a degree in a job in a good organization, and I was in that development job for a couple of years, and then I kind of moved more into team leadership, and I was a team leader for a while, and then I became a Scrum Master back in 2010. So that was when I discovered Agile.
Okay. Yep.
And I think the rest is kind of history. So when I discovered Agile, things started to kind of make more sense to me. Talking to people, having teams, working together, collaborating together, solving problems together, getting multiple brains onto a problem. That kind of thing was one thing that that never kind of made sense to me when I was a grad straight out of uni. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because even during my university, I was a little bit different, and I was remote. I did university remote, remotely, years ago, and with a group of 4 others. There were four others. So it was a group of 5. We did everything together. We did all our group assignments.
Oh, wow.
We studied together. We ate lunch together. Like we just
So
kind
with
of
the
did
exact same group?
all the
Okay.
way through uni. Yeah. And so, I went from that kind of group setting to working and kind of more of an individual on my own. Like if I've sat in a cubicle with walls that were higher than me,
Oh,
I
wow.
didn't have to speak to anyone else if I didn't want to. And that never really sat well with me. It was never kind of who I was.
Yeah.
So when Agile was, or Scrum specifically was, here's all these people we're going to throw together in a team, and here's all of the problems, and you work out together how you're going to solve it. Someone's not going to tell you what to do or how to solve it. You've got to figure it out as a team.
Yeah.
It was a much more, cool. This is what makes sense. This works better. Why wasn't it always like this? So that's kind of where my Agile journey started, and it kind of progressed as I did Scrum Mastering for quite a few years in different organizations, different scenarios, different contexts, and then I guess I was able to comfortably call myself an Agile coach. I would say maybe 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And it was, there's nothing really that you can do that you go tick, oh, I'm an Agile coach now.
Yeah. Like there's no kind of straightforward degree or certification.
No.
Yeah.
It's really just experience. And I had experience around, and, people were telling me, you can call yourself an Agile coach now. You've got plenty of experience. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like there's so much more that I need to know or that I could learn. So I don't really feel comfortable, but I was working for a consultancy, so that was just how I was being marketed anyway. So that was kind of 5, 6, 7 years ago that started to happen. And then I do other things as well, like Agile training. I love training people. I run training courses. I do the coaching as well, and then I've got my Pilates on as well.
Just an all-rounder. A lot going on, that's for sure. I think as well, I just want to unpack, you had that transition when you were a graduate developer and you found it quite isolating, and then you came into this concept of Agile when you were working in teams. Was it when you started doing that Agile, did that kind of spike like a passion, a purpose of yours, and that's what led you down that Agile training, Agile coaching road?
I think, purpose, I still don't know if I know what my purpose is in life.
Yeah.
Passion, I think what it helped me understand about myself is where some of my strengths were. And my strengths aligned with what was needed to be a Scrum Master and a coach later on. So, the ability to facilitate, that's a big part of being a Scrum Master, a big part of being one of the key things about being a coach. And that was just something that I was kind of naturally able to do, but I didn't know until I started doing it, if that kind of makes sense.
Isn't that always the way? It's like you don't know something, or you don't really know your strengths until you just step into it. Like you've really got to get out of your comfort zone and just try new things, experience new things. Otherwise you're never going to know.
Yep, exactly. So trying to create that equal participation in a room or in a workshop from a facilitation and coming and facilitating a group of people from different walks of life to an outcome, and just letting it kind of flow and let the conversations flow, but still, you've got to get to this outcome by the end of the day or end of the workshop. That was something that I was naturally able to do. And my first workshop, how I facilitated that, I don't even remember what it was, but I'm sure how I facilitate now is very, very different. But it was still something that I loved doing, that I enjoyed doing. And the training part of it, it's funny because at school I used to hate public speaking. I used to hate.
You sound like me.
all of that. I used to get up in English and do like an oral exam and things like that. Like I hated all of that stuff. I was very happy to just hide in the background and answer a question or never kind of cause any trouble or be disruptive or whatever, except in maths class. I was a little bit disruptive in maths class.
I am resonating so much with you right now because I was literally the exact same. And I've always like had a bit of like a passion for maths. So in maths, like I was super outgoing, like would ask so many questions. But in English, my biggest fear was public speaking. I just could not stand it for the life of me. It was the worst. I was always so nervous, everything about it. Yeah, and I think that's really interesting to see how far you've come today from what you thought back then. Was there like any type of practices, lots of work that you had to do on yourself to kind of get to this point today?
I think similar to what you said before, you got to get out of your comfort zone. And I think especially early on in my career, that being pushed out of my comfort zone, you know, there's a few leaders that I was working for at the time that a handful of people that over the years have pushed me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Which and in the earlier days where I wouldn't have done that for myself. So doing that for me, or I didn't really have a choice because I was a good girl and I followed orders back then.
Yeah.
It was just something that I went, oh, okay, well, that's cool. I'm glad in hindsight, I'm glad he did that because I wouldn't be where I am right now if I wasn't thrown into the pilot team, the pilot agile team.
Yeah.
So there's things like that where I've been pushed into my comfort zone and just had to go and found out that, oh, it wasn't so bad after all. Maybe I could do that again. And then you start to build your own kind of resilience. You go, well, I did this before, so that's not much harder. I reckon I could do that. Or, it's kind of thinking about it like that. But it's also shifting my mindset to be, you've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to screw up to learn.
Yeah.
This, the way that it was at school where you got rewarded for being correct.
Mm-hmm.
You got rewarded for doing the right thing, and that's not how I learn. That's not how a lot of people learn. You have to screw up to then go,
oh, definitely.
Okay, well, next time I do that, I'll do this instead.
Yeah, definitely.
Or getting that feedback of, how you did this, well, next time maybe you could do this, or whatever it is, just getting that feedback. Whereas, I never got any of that at school. It was always Renee's perfect angel child, whatever. It was
still nice though, but
nice for the parents. Can we have more of Renee's in our class? But nice for mum and dad. But in hindsight, it didn't really do much for setting me up for
reality.
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
Like, especially because I've recently gone through that transition from graduating uni into a full-time job, and working for Easy Agile, like I'm always being pushed out of my comfort zone in a good way. Like everyone's so supportive. They're always like, oh, Chloe, try this, like try that. And I'm just like, okay, yep, I can do it. And, if it doesn't go amazingly, well, that's okay. I've learned something and I can do it better next time.
Yeah.
You can't just sit in your comfort zone forever. You don't get that feeling of like when you do something outside of your comfort zone, you just feel so good after, and you're like, oh, I proved to myself I can do this. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the big part of that is acknowledging the learning, is sitting down. So one of the things I do as a coach is one of the key times for a team or an individual to learn is to actually sit down and reflect back. And then, what was good, what was bad, and what am I going to do differently the next time?
Yeah.
And, I coach teams to do that, but I have to do that myself as well. So, kind of realizing that as a practice, that's something that I have to do, is sit down, and when I do these things, I need to gather feedback, and then I have to sit down and reflect on how it went, what I think I can do better or do differently the next time around I do something like this, so that I am also myself, improving in the things that I do. So it's really having that time and that practice to learn, sit down and like, what did I learn?
Yeah, I do. And I agree with that. Like, you need to take the time to understand, reflect, realize what you have learned. Otherwise, life is so busy and you just keep going and going and going, and you can just completely forget. And it's good to take that moment. I really like how that's something that you do in your agile coaching as well. What else do you do, like when you're coaching teams? Like, what other elements are there?
Some of the stuff I've already spoken about, like having that trying to get that equal participation, equal voice, trying to, it's the buzzword is psychological safety, but trying to build an environment for a team where everyone feels safe to ask a question or to voice their opinion or whatever it is. And when we've come from, as a coach, what we're doing is we're usually coaching teams, people, organizations through a shift from a certain way of working to an agile way of working. And that means that the whole telling people what to do and when to do it and how to do it is gone. That's gone. And now you want to build that capability within the team itself. So creating that safe space so that the team can ask questions and understand what they have to do so that they can collectively deliver something, as opposed to someone just telling them what to do. So it's using your brain, using the collective group brain as well, instead of just having not using your brain, really, just waiting to be told what to do, and then you know what to do, you just do it. But collectively solving a problem together as a team and then figuring out as a team how we're going to solve that or how we're going to deliver that is something that is quite that's the bit I love as a coach, working with teams, building that kind of environment where they do feel safe to ask the dumb questions and things like that.
And not have to be like, I think this is a silly question, but you definitely want to remove that.
And I think the other part is the learning still. It's exactly the same. It's taking the focus, trying to get the focus off, we must deliver, and then we'll do some learning stuff if we get time. Trying to kind of flip that around so that you need to learn in order to get better at delivery. So take that focus, because a lot of teams will just say, oh, we've got all these deadlines, all of this delivery pressure, we have to get this stuff done. We don't have time to sit down and think about what we've learned or how we can get better as a team. They're never going to get better as a team if they just keep in this endless delivery cycle, making the same kind of time wasting things over and over and over again. So it's kind of flipping the mindsets of the teams as well to go, no, hang on, we need to do this. Otherwise we're not going to get better as a team.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where like the Agile retrospective fits in perfectly. And I know I actually just came out of my retrospective with my team, and we do that weekly, and it's so good to come out of that with action items too. And it's like, okay, next week, this is how we're going to get better. This is how we're going to advance. This is our focus. And there's also no hidden problems because it comes up. Every Friday we talk about it. So you're not going into Monday the next week like with a grudge, or you're annoyed about something with the workflow of the team. You've addressed it. You've left it in the last week. You've brought the action with you, obviously, and hopefully it's going to get better from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the key, right? It's the whatever we've decided in our retrospective or what we're going to do differently, we're doing that differently the next day or Monday in your case. Like, it's not something we talk about and then we just kind of ignore it and we just talk about it again in 2 weeks' time or whatever it is. It's the putting into practice the decisions you make as a team in those retrospectives all of the time.
Yeah.
And they're not massive actions either. They're just little tweaks here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're small things.
Yeah. They're not, they just kind of build up over time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like if you do it on a regular occurrence, they are small things. But if you're not doing it regularly, then that's when they build up and they become big things.
Yeah.
big problems and massive blockers within the team as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm wondering too, Renee, like when you do your agile coaching and your agile training, so you do that on an individual basis as well as teams. Do you think there's an aspect of like the mindset, the agile mindset there? And does each individual need to come to work with that agile mindset for the team to be able to flow better?
Mindsets are, if everyone had the same mindset, then we'd be robots, or
True.
The world would be very boring.
Good point.
So I think, I think that's a bit for me when I think about a team, an agile team. As long as there's some alignment on how the team behaves, why they exist, what their purpose is, and how they treat each other and how they solve problems together.
Yeah.
Then the mindsets of the individuals within that team, they can be different, and that's fine as long as there's that agreement amongst everyone of this is how we're going to behave. So you might have, like, I come up against people all the time who have been kind of forced to work in this agile way. So their mindset's definitely not in the mindset that you need for an agile team, but if they're in an agile team and there's people in that team that have got the kind of the mindset or the behaviors that you need to have in order to deliver in an agile way, over time, like it kind of balances out. And over time, the mindsets will start to shift as well as they see how other people in their team are behaving, how their leaders are behaving, things like that. So
yeah,
I kind of always think of it as more of a behavioral thing than a mindset thing. How do we make decisions? How do we, like I said, how do we treat each other? How do we approach problems? Who are our customers? What, all of that sort of stuff. It's more that behavior that I kind of like to, instead of thinking, oh, they don't have the mindset, I just kind of look at how they behave. Because at the end of the day, like, you can't force that mindset. But as a team, when they start humming and working together as a team, they're going to be delivering what they need to deliver. And they kind of all that's the whole cross-functional part of it, right? You're bringing together different minds, different backgrounds, different experiences, different skills, all of that stuff, and you're putting them in a team together so that they can use their skills, those different pieces to solve these problems.
No, definitely. I think the way people behave, it has a lot to do with it as well. And I think on that too, like, you can be in the right type of mindset, you can behave in the right way, and that has a lot to do with the way you're showing up at work as well. It's like the way you come to work. If if you've had a bad morning, then that's going to impact how you are that day. Or if you've woken up that morning and you have kind of like a set morning routine that gets you into that good routine for the day, that good mindset and behavior, then it can help a lot. And I think as well, like, this is something I'd love to chat to you about too, because you've got the background of Pilates, you're in your own studio, and you've been an instructor for how many years now?
It'll be 1.5 years since I qualified. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I'm also an instructor. I've been teaching, I think, for about 6 months now. But I'm just wondering too, so you've got your two passions, like Pilates studio owner and then also an agile coach. Is there that element of setting yourself up for the day in the morning? Like, do you think if someone, they meditate, have the type of morning routine, they exercise, can they behave better at work essentially? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think definitely the better you feel in yourself, or the way you feel within yourself definitely has a direct correlation to how you come across, how you behave at work. So if you've had a rushed morning, or traffic was crap on the way to work, or whatever it is, then definitely you're going to be quite wound up by the time you get to work.
Yeah, definitely.
It's going to impact the way that you respond to questions or respond to people or respond to your team or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't really have a set routine in the morning. I have I'll go to gym, but I don't go to gym every day. But
yeah,
the mornings that I do go to gym, like I never feel like going because it's, I just want to sleep. But
it's early. Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to go in the morning or I won't go to gym.
Yeah.
Gym's something that, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. I know I have to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't like doing it.
Not even after? That feeling after?
Afterwards is good. But thank God that's done.
Yeah.
Tick, I'm done for the day.
Way. Yeah.
If it was in the afternoon, if I went to gym in the afternoon, I wouldn't go. It would just be, nah, it's too hard, or I can't be bothered, I'm too tired. So getting up first thing in the morning, I set my alarm 15 minutes before my gym class starts.
Wow. And that is effort. That is good.
I race to get there, but I have all my clothes set out the night before, so I don't even have to think. I just get out of bed, I put my clothes on, and I get in the car and I drive to the gym. And I
do the same thing.
I do my class. I haven't had time to talk myself out of it just yet. But yeah, afterwards it's oh yes, excellent. That's done for the day. And yeah, it is nice to know that you have done that for the day as you start your work day as well.
Yeah.
But so on my gym days, that's probably my routine to get myself ready for work. But other days they're a little bit more relaxed, I guess. I think if anything, having a coffee is I cannot deal with the world without coffee.
Yeah.
So whether I'm at home or I'm in the office, the first thing I'll do is, if I get to the office, I'll get a coffee on the way in. So I'm drinking coffee as I walk into the office. So yeah, I guess that you could call that my routine.
No, I think a lot of people, a lot of listeners as well, will be able to resonate with that. And I used to be like that. And then coffee wasn't sitting well with me. I found it was just really triggering my nerves for the day and everything. So it was so hard. I went from drinking 2 to 3 coffees a day to getting off it, and now I'll drink a matcha instead.
Right.
But that was such a big part of my morning routine as well. And getting off it was one of the hardest things I've had to do.
Yeah. I did that once. I detoxed for those health retreat things years and years ago.
Yeah.
And I had to detox off coffee and everything actually before.
Oh, really?
2 weeks leading up to it. And yeah, coffee was hard.
Yes.
Very, very hard because I love the taste of my coffee.
Yeah.
I just have it straight. I don't have any milk. So I love the taste of my coffee.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But maybe it's also the other benefits of not wanting to kill people that coffee does to me as well. Okay, I can deal with the world now. I've had my coffee.
You're okay, all right. Who needs coaching now? Who needs training? I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, well, the reason as well why I wanted to talk about the whole exercise correlation with work was because I did read your article on LinkedIn about what sitting all day is doing to your body, and you're saying how Pilates can help with that. The section that I think resonated really well with me was when you said when COVID-19 shut down the world and confined everyone working from home, those people who were working in the office environments, you found yourself sitting bent over a PC at home all day, and it's back-to-back virtual meetings. You don't really have that chance to get up, have a break, go for a walk around and everything. And I think, I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be in that reality, and even after COVID, it is still the case. So I think just for the sake of everyone listening, is there any tips or anything to get you up, get you moving so you're not experiencing that on the daily?
I think the other difference is, when before COVID, sure, you were sitting at your desk all day at work, but you're also walking to the office and walking to meetings and walking to the kitchen and walking to go and buy your lunch and things like that. So you weren't kind of back-to-back meetings either. So you had that chance. And even if you were walking from room to room, so you were getting up. Whereas, at home, it's just back-to-back meetings. And I don't know about you, but I, run to go to the bathroom in between meetings.
I literally do. Yesterday, actually, a bit triggered by that.
I did that too yesterday, actually. But it's and like even at the height of COVID, the back-to-back meetings were so bad. Like I didn't even have a lunch break. I was working.
Wow.
I was making my lunch in meetings, and and daylight saving as well. It always throws things because Queensland stays where they are, and it throws everything out. So so my article, actually, I had to. It was more of a paper that I had to submit as part of my instructor course.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And as well as my 600 hours of practice.
And I can relate. I didn't have to do the article though.
So I kind of just pulled bits out of that, and because I thought, this is still relevant, and maybe it will resonate with people, especially the people that I'm linked, like LinkedIn is the audience, right? Yeah. So that just things that happen from sitting down's bad for you, full stop. Like whether you're working or sitting on a couch all day, whatever it is, sitting down's bad for you. And the longer you sit, the more kind of slouched you get, the more your spine is always kind of in the rounded state, the less you're using your back muscles, your back extensors, the more you're sitting down, your pelvis, your hip flexors are shortening because you're always sitting down. And that kind of tightens your lower back. And then you've got your, even just using your mouse, you've got that shoulder that's doing extra stuff or backwards and forward stuff constantly. And then your neck as well. So, and your shoulder, like your traps, everything gets kind of tight. So things that you can do, I wrote my article's got an example class plan to undo the effects of sitting down all day in an office job. But that class plan uses all of the apparatus. So there's things you can do on the mat or the reformer or the Cadillac or Wonder Chair. But I've also I run a few online classes after work, and they started during COVID and they're still going. And I designed those specifically to undo. I know those people have been sitting down all day. Yes. So my classes are very much unraveling everything that they've done all day. Yeah. And my classes, my mat classes anyway, they're usually focused around, tips for people not actually coming to a class, but doing the opposite of what you've been doing all day. So if you sit all day, stand up, walk around, at least listen to your smartwatch when it tells you to take a break. Yeah. Stand up and take a break, and walk out to the letterbox and get some sunshine at the same time if you're lucky. There's not much sun around these days.
If it's out, make a run for it.
Doing kind of, shoulder rolls and neck stretches and hip flexor stretches. So that you, like I said, just doing the opposite of what you do when you're sitting. Yeah. So think about the muscles or the tendons or whatever, what they're kind of, even if you're not familiar with what they are, there's some at the front of your hip. And when you're sitting, you can imagine that they're not being used. They're just like being stuck there. So straighten them, stretch them. Yeah. If you're rounded all the time in your spine, then press, roll your shoulders back, press your chest forward, use your back muscles. Yeah. And because I don't even know if people are that familiar with back extensors. I don't know if people understand that, because you've got your spine and then you've got these muscles that they're like twisted that run either side of your spine. And I can't remember the scientific name for them right now.
No, me neither.
But we just call them back extensors. And you when you straighten in your spine, they're working. And they're kind of, you switching them on. It's just like working your bicep, strengthening that muscle. When you straighten your spine and you even go past straight, and go kind of backwards, you're using those back muscles and you're strengthening those back muscles, and it'll stop you being like a rounded.
Yeah, just like bent over.
Yeah, hunched over.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's really just doing the opposite, or joining online classes. I can put you through some exercises.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely share that article as well, like with this podcast, so people can see that program, or might be something that helps. Yeah. For me at work, like we're very fortunate that we have a standing desk, and I think that is just so amazing, because you know, if I work from home, I don't have a standing desk, and I can feel the difference.
Yeah,
my body just feels, you just don't feel right, and I feel more fatigued, and I just need to get up and move more often.
Yeah. Standing, if you stand all day, it's the same thing. You've got to sit as well. Like, you've still got to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Standing is like, because you can get slouchy when you stand as well. So you can still over time get tired and kind of slouch over, or, you still kind of tense in your shoulders and things like that. And so you kind of need to still be aware of your posture when you're standing, and just self-correct, or still go for walks, still give everything a chance to move the way it's supposed to move, not stand still all day.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Really enjoyed this chat with you. I think there's a lot that our listeners will get out of it. And I definitely want to continue more of this Pilates conversation too.
Thank you, Chloe. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thank you.